Hey y'all. Hey. I have a loud voice, so I kind of don't need a microphone, but it's cool to have one. It looks cool. So, welcome everybody to the very first installment of the RealTea Live podcast. It's going to be a weekly podcast, but monthly I will do a live panel so that we can engage, talk to y'all, get to know y'all, and then talk about money. You know, it's very important that we start any situation that we do with understanding each other, loving on each other, and knowing that whatever you need, we actually care about you versus caring about your dollar. So, that being said, this is RealTea, and my name is Serenity. I am a licensed realtor here in Georgia as well as in Illinois. I moved here in March to start my real estate journey and expanding it. I wanted it to be bigger and better than what it was in Chicago, and I've been blessed so far to have a very successful career so far. And the people you see here are people that I met along the way here in Atlanta. Within the past 3 months, I would say I met everybody up here with me, and they've been very pivotal in my success so far. So my moderator is Miss Markeena. Markeena is a superstar, so I'm going to go ahead and let her introduce herself.
Hey guys, I'm so loud. You barely need the microphone. How y'all doing today?
Great.
Awesome. How y'all doing today for real though?
We doing good, girl.
Okay, cute, we like that. So, yes, I am Markeena Novembre. I'm so blessed and honored to be here. Congratulations, Serenity, on your first event in Atlanta. This is amazing. Clap it up, you know. So definitely, so just like she said, I am Markeena Novembre. I am a graduate of Clark Atlanta University, HBCU. Don't play with it, okay? And I am a lot of different things. I'm a musician, I'm a songwriter, I'm a speaker, I'm the founder of an organization called Breaking the Cycle. I also own my own company called Culture Forward. We are all service, branding, digital marketing. We build internship programs. We do a lot of different things. And one of my main positions right now is the Director of Youth Engagement for the Senator Warnock campaign. So early voting just started, so make sure that y'all are voting for Warnock. Make sure that y'all are voting for Stacey Abrams. Make sure that you guys are voting because our lives are on the ballot. So that's me. It's such a blessing to be here with you guys tonight. So I'm going to pass the mic over to our amazing panelists, and let's get to know them too.
Hello. So my name is Alison McCarden. I'm a licensed mortgage loan originator and branch manager for Nations Lending. I have been doing mortgages, I like to say, my entire life because I have been exposed to the mortgage industry since I was a child, but I have been doing it on my own since for about 11 years. And I've helped people get millions of dollars in real estate. So I am the money. When it comes to financing, you need somebody who's going to give you that money unless you're buying cash. So I love to educate people about mortgages, financing, anything that helps us create generational wealth. Because why not use other people's money, right?
Okay.
So I look forward to talking to you all today.
Educate me, girl. Let me know right now.
Yes, I love it, Queen.
Yes.
How y'all doing? Good. My name is Raven, and I am a real estate agent with Palmer House Properties. First of all, y'all just look so beautiful. Can y'all just make some noise for yourselves? Can y'all just make some noise for yourselves? There we go. I'm a real estate agent at Palmer House Properties, and I work specifically with investors. So I've had the privilege to help first-time investors invest into real estate to really create the generational wealth that they want to create for their family. So I'm so excited to talk to you guys this evening. Outside of real estate, I do own a media company as well. It's called Your Girl TV. We're the #1 source for positive celebrity culture. So I'm just super excited to sit up here and represent for my serial entrepreneurs. Any serial entrepreneurs? Yes! Because it is no joke, okay? So shout out out to the serial entrepreneurs, and again, I'm just super excited for this conversation, and I know a lot of gems will be dropped. Okay.
It's the tea, girl. We
Yes.
the tea. Oh, okay.
Well, I'm Anthony Perry. My company is Credit Building Professionals, and I'm the credit specialist here who help with credit building. I don't know where to start. Besides, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to see you guys here, and taking into consideration of y'all generational wealth curse that we're trying to break, so we can all have something and all give back. What I do is I have 2 network events that I have each month, the first and the second Thursday of the month, and I build credit, and it's kind of like a network to get everybody together as far as like entrepreneurs that does any business. I don't care if you sell t-shirts, bottles of water, or not. As long as you're an entrepreneur, you come to my event, and just be other like-minded people that's just trying to get ahead and just do more for their life, their family, or whoever, themselves. So what I do, as far as this, like I said, I own a company for over 8 years, and I kind of just pivot to all real estate. So those are demographics of the people I deal with. So far as like helping with business credit, helping with personal credit, just helping you just build, just understand it better, because it's a lot, but it's really kind of simple at the same time. But if you don't know, you just don't know. But I'm here to give the knowledge for it, and I'm glad to be here and to really help me out. And I think all the queens up there, all of us in the building too. Thanks for coming out.
And I do want to give a special shout out to Kirk Gregory. He is my partner, and he's an insurance agent from Chicago. He was supposed to be here today, but he couldn't make it, but he is a big part of how I was able to make this happen today. And Agent K, he's super fly, just like everybody up here. He's super charismatic, and that man and me started pretty much together from like, man, we gotta figure out how to be cold. We gotta be unique. We gotta be the unicorn in the room, right? Like, so we kind of built that together. So Agent K is my insurance partner. So if any of you do end up wanting to buy property or anything like that, just know that that will be the person that I refer you all to. He built a lot of rapport with me, and that's my partner. So shout out to Agent K. I wish you were here. And then he is a gem that or some tea he want me to spill for y'all. So he's like, make sure you tell him this. So we will get to that. And my background, before I was a realtor, I've always been a hustler since I was like 19. So I have always worked for myself. I worked as a lead generator for talent agencies, going from the baby girl there to being the scout and training other people in the Midwest to work and recruit kids to be celebrities. And then I went into radio. I worked in digital marketing, so all the graphics that you all see are things that I created myself, down to the logo. My love is branding and the look and feel of things. And my background in radio, I worked in entertainment radio for 5 years. Underground, they know me as the unicorn of radio, of underground radio. Put a lot of entrepreneurs on, a lot of music from all over the world. And COVID stopped it, and then my sister blessed me with real estate. Like, girl, you lost your job because COVID fired you. We're gonna pay for you to go to real estate school because you're very persuasive, you know how to do this. So my journey started in 2020 in the pandemic. And within my first year of real estate, I sold 1.3 mil, which is crazy, right? I didn't have a pipeline. I didn't graduate from college. You know, everybody I knew was what you would say broke or struggling or whatever they want to call the stereotype, right? But those are the people that I helped. Those are the people that I helped with credit. I helped with support and letting them know that they shouldn't give up and buying properties and crazy equity in the properties that they own now. And then I got into investment projects because I, during the Clubhouse days, I met my best friend Gabby during the Clubhouse days. This is the owner of my theater, by the way. I met her and we used to do rooms and just talk, and the RealTea name kind of came around that time. And I met an investor client through Clubhouse, and they put me into project management for rehabs. So I help people not only buy first-time homes, but I also help people flip. So my clients are the ones who taught me numbers. This is one of my clients here in Victoria. They taught me the numbers of investments and what it means to have at least 25% and hard money and things like that. And I took on the responsibility of helping them purchase these properties, project managing the rehab of the properties, being the bug, bothering the contractors, getting yelled at by the contractors, and then helping them lease or sell once they're done. And within my first year of that, I flipped 7 properties in 1 year.
Yes,
So I love rehabs. I'm cute right now, but I be in the trenches. Like I bust walls down. I put on I use Doc Martens. They tell me to wear Tims, but I really like Docs. So I wear the Docs, and I get real gritty with it. And that's kind of how I jumped into real estate, and my background in marketing and radio and entertainment brought it full circle to be able to bring my podcast back in a way that is just more beneficial to the community. I've always been into mindset and positive affirmations, the unicorn gospel. What did you go through today? How did we get through it together? And that's what you guys are going to receive from us before we start talking about finances. So with that being said, I want Markeena to go ahead and get us motivated, ask us the questions that the crowd may have, and then at the very end, of course, you guys can ask us anything about life, because we all go through it together. And you can ask us anything about real estate, credit, finance, all of the above, media, whatever floats your boat.
Well, hello, everybody. Let's just give one more round of applause for Serenity. Over $1 million in sales, flipping 7 properties, that's a major thing. So definitely we want to celebrate you and uplift that about you. And I know that one of the most important things that you wanted to, touch on was mindset building. So even in your transition, I feel like that would be a great place to start is how was your transition in the middle of a pandemic to an entirely new career that you have to build your own clientele for, build your own reputation for, what was that like for you, building up that education and that motivation to know that you can achieve that?
That's a good question, and I think everybody up here will answer that very successfully. But for me, the whole unicorn thing, I really do call myself the unicorn in the room. And it came from a very dark place, okay? I was very lost, very depressed a lot of my high school years. I was always kind of like the underdog, or felt like I didn't belong, and why don't they like me? Why do I have to try so hard to be friends with people? Why do the boys only like me because I got a big butt? Just going through that type of energy. So when I lost my job, I also lost a partner. He kind of ghosted me in the middle of a pandemic, right? So I was severely depressed, but what I decided was that nobody else can determine my growth and my happiness. And as hard as it was, the thing that got me through the pandemic was an affirmation board that I created. So I didn't make a vision board for 2020. And it's crazy that the pandemic happened 3 months after I made that board, because that board is what I woke up to every day with words of who I wanted to be, how I wanted to see myself, how I wanted to see the people around me, what type of friendships. And the one that stood out the most was restorative power. And to me, that was the term that I needed to be able to endure the losses, the friendship losses, the boyfriend losses. I lost 30 pounds, I gained it all back, plus some.
You look good.
Girl bye, the waist cinches do what they do. But, the affirmation board helped a whole bunch, so I do encourage people to get into affirmation boards. And then Clubhouse actually helped, because that's when I believe me and Gabby might have gotten in before it got oversaturated just on the media level. We were accessed early into Clubhouse. And when I tell you, we were talking in rooms with hundreds of people for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours every day, because there wasn't anything else to do. And those conversations, those educational sessions, me being able to talk on stages, you know, that is what helped me realize, okay, this is your purpose, to talk, to learn, to educate, and to be uplifting to the people around you when you feel like you can't uplift yourself. So that's kind of how I knew that once I put my mind to it, I would be able to conquer.
Question is about the pandemic.
Well, if it does apply to you guys, did you make the transition in the pandemic?
Yeah, so I've been doing mortgages for a while, but when it came to the pandemic, one of the things that I did is I started my social media for mortgage only. So you can follow me, Chic Mortgage Millennial, on everything. But when outside closed, as we like to say, I had to figure out, okay, how do I get clients? How do I get new business? Because a lot of our interaction was face-to-face, building relationships with realtors, going into their offices. So I told myself, well, I just want to be different. I want to educate people. I don't want to be flashy because I don't like people in my pocket. So I really wasn't with the posting my clothing, posting what I'm doing, because I'm low-key. But I wanted to educate people. So I started making YouTube videos, just educating people about what I do. Because a lot of times people will say, I want to buy a house. When you think that you want to buy a house, who's the first person that you look for? A realtor. So being a mortgage loan originator or being a mortgage professional, it was not cool prior to the pandemic. So I just started talking about what I do in helping people find homes or help people get qualified for homes, helping people with their credit. As a mortgage professional, you kind of have to get into your nerd bag because we are working with calculations all day. We're looking at your credit. We're trying to see, okay, what is your DCI? What does your DCI need to be? So I went to social media and branded myself as Chic Mortgage Millennial and just started educating, putting that information out there. And then I started getting a following not only of realtors, but of people who said, hey, I like that. I want to do that too. And now, you know, my team, they laugh because anytime someone comes to me and says you want to do mortgages, I'm like, why? Because it's not cool. You know, if all else fails, blame the loan officer. That is the slogan. How many times do you hear people say, oh, my lender said this, they didn't give me approved, they didn't give me how much money I want. So we kind of are the bad guy in a sense, but everyone needs a mortgage loan originator. Everyone needs a lender who's fighting for them, who is combating the underwriter and saying, hey, this person, they qualify. However, look at this letter of explanation. Look at their job history. Look at their compensating factors. Maybe they have the assets. And people don't really understand that there's a lot that goes behind the scenes when you're getting a mortgage. It's a 30-day process for a reason. So each time you're getting a mortgage, there's somebody like me that is making sure that your loan works with program guidelines. So someone has to be the ones who educate themselves on mortgage guidelines for each program to make sure that when you complete your application, look through it, and we have to make necessary changes to paint your picture. Because a lot of people, they don't understand that when they complete an application, you're gonna put, oh yeah, I make about 60,000, I make about 70,000. You're gonna put what you feel, but you don't understand that each penny counts. So when it comes to us calculating your income and using the program guidelines, we set up your loan so that way when you put in an offer on a home, you're going to the closing table. And people who don't necessarily take those extra steps, a lot of times you'll see that people's loans fall apart. You'll lose your earnest money. So unless you're in it, unless you're working with a realtor who cares, they will set you up typically with a mortgage professional who's gonna make sure, hey, I know this person is evaluating their pre-approval. I know this person is collecting documents. So I brought that to social media and kind of created a cult-like following under Chic Mortgage Millennial. But I didn't know that the world needed that. But if you look at the face of the mortgage industry, you don't see a lot of people that look like us. That's the biggest thing. So to be able to grow in those ranks, and you know, now I'm a branch manager. During the pandemic, I was just able to shift my business and make it more national, global. Mortgages is a major impact, and everyone needs a mortgage best friend. So during the pandemic, that is something that I did.
Yes.
So I'm gonna tell you guys a short story. Prior to COVID, I flew to New York with my mom because I had decided I'm done with Atlanta. I've been here for 18 years. I was ready to go. So February 2020, we flew to New York. I went to Brooklyn. I was like, this is it. This is where I want to stay. I'm gonna move to Brooklyn. I'm gonna get a job in radio because this was before real estate. And we had flights booked to go back to New York May 2020. COVID happened March 2020. So my plans completely ended. I was at my apartment with my roommate, and we both were looking at each other like, girl, what the fuck we gonna do? Excuse my language, but like, what we gonna do, girl? We're just in here, we're drinking all this wine, we're quarantining. But it's like, no, let's really sit down and let's make a plan. And I did. I sat down with my roommate, and we worked together, and we created our own plan. And at that time, I was wholesaling. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with wholesaling term in real estate, but that's the person who flips contracts. So if you're buying a home, I have it under contract, you're paying me, we're closing, but I'm getting that price difference between what you could have really paid if you knew the seller, if that makes sense. So I was wholesaling at the time, making good money, I wasn't complaining. But then I really fell in love with real estate, and I was like, I wonder what could happen if I really got my license. So I battled with depression during the quarantine, and I feel like it was a blessing and a curse at the same time. It was a curse in a sense that I had to really face the reality of the things that I wanted and to have the courage to actually step out and go and get them. So I battled a lot within myself during the quarantine, but I'm thankful for that time because it gave me time to really see the true queen that I am inside, and that I do have what it takes to be successful in the real estate industry. So I went on, took me a year, but I got my license. I failed the test 2 times, y'all, child. 3rd time was the charm. So I passed the exam, and from there, I've just been rocking and rolling, and I've been working with investors, and I just think it's so beautiful to see a home that is just, I mean, let's just be real, looks like shit, right? Get turned into this beautiful masterpiece where people actually go to lay their heads. I think that's just a beautiful thing, and I really want more of us to get involved in that because I don't see as many of us in that field. And that is what my true intention was to become a realtor, was to work with investors, but teach and train investors who look like us to learn how to invest in real estate. And I say that to say, to end the story, 2 days ago, I just found out that I am now officially a realtor in the state of New York. So I now have my New York real estate license. So trust the timing, you know. I thought I was gonna move to New York, but it didn't happen like that, you know. And in between that time, between the quarantine and now, I met my amazing boyfriend, you know. And I would have never met him had I moved to New York, you know. So I say that to say, trust the timing, believe in yourself, no matter how you're feeling, no matter the thoughts that you have, you always have a choice to change your thoughts and to change how you feel. It may not be easy, but with great people around you who support you and be there for you, anything is possible.
Come on, Queen. Listen, honey, we gave all types of tea spilled in the building. Honey, she said trust the timing, okay? You better talk to these queens different, okay? But what you got for us, sir? Because they got, you know, look.
They're on fire. With me, like, well, the quarantine, well, COVID came around in 2020. I had my last event, which was March 13th, because the 16th was that weekend that we had the lockdown and everything else. I remember it like yesterday. And as far as my business, it kind of went up. I ended up hiring 4 more people because it gave everybody a chance to sit down and kind of see their finances, kind of see where their credit was at, kind of see what they were trying to do, just like she was saying. And like during that quarantine time, that's when I met Raven. I met her. Like she was hustling. She was out there getting it. passing out flyers, and I'm like, I don't want to be, and she gave me a flyer, and I was like, I do credit, you my best friend. So guess what? Let's work together, let's see what we can do. So then we met up and, started to do business that way. And it was just, not even that, not to make it short, but it's just that it was a blessing and a courage, for us to be inside, and I kind of was outside the whole time, but, I wanted to. I wasn't proud. It's just like, well, my office is located, we just had like a little small group, and everybody had their own. I'm located in the Battery, so like everything else was closed, but we was just wide open, and just kind of like a small group of friends, but the whole time we worked, like, we just worked the whole time, and so, like I said, I ended up hiring 4 new people for my company, because it was just like overwhelming work, and it was too much for the people that I had on staff, even though they was working from home, but we kind of had to figure out a way to make it happen, and I had to interview and do a lot of other things as far as like get my business up to par, because everybody was looking to buy a home, interest rates was dropping, which was, what a lot of people don't afraid by now, which I don't understand why, because it's still a good time to buy now. It's always a good time to invest in real estate. It's the same as investing in yourself. You lay your head there, you do everything you want there, it's your comfort zone, you can't, nobody can take it from you unless you're not paying for it, but, it's just, it was a beautiful thing, but at the same time, mental health was something that was off for like a lot of people, because being in the house, being in situations that we never been in before, and had to just cope with it, because you really didn't have a choice, what you gonna do, and like, it's the knowledge of itself, knowing what was gonna happen next or whatnot. You didn't know, because like, this was like the first time for everyone to go through this whole situation. So during that time, I kind of just, mastered my craft a little more, I kind of studied a little more, kind of see different things. I kind of was doing business credit before, but I really didn't like dive in it too much. I was only just like setting up formations and, things like with Dun Bradstreet and apps and stuff like that. But I really wasn't like promoting as much as I was promoting like, helping building personal credit or fixing personal credit. So like with me, it was a total success story for me. And, like now it's kind of like the opposite, because the market changed a lot. So it's kind of slowing up, but it's in spurts now. So daily, but I would say just always invest in credit, your credit, but always invest in real estate as far as like what's going on. And pretty much they're gonna say the same thing as far as like with the team, because a lot of refis came out at that time. A lot of people was just getting in a position where they can buy a house, or didn't know they can't buy a house because they never tried, or never really looked at the credit score. So a lot of them looking at it, kind of gave me advantage, because like, even though like I always say credit is like recession proof, and like she mentioned earlier, I always say use other people's money, because like if you're investing in something and using your credit, it's not your money, but you can get that margin on the end, which will be your profit. And so that margin, you keep on filling your bank, but you're just using somebody else's money. And I always say credit is air money, because it really don't exist, but it exists, So as far as me, it was a blessing. Like other people, it wasn't, because a lot of people lost lives and stuff like that. But as far as going to real estate,
Okay. Yes, so definitely that was beautiful. And I think that in these transitions, I love to hear what each of you guys said, especially talking about, trusting the timing. That's so important. Like literally right when the world was about to shut down, I will never forget, I had just landed in South Africa. My organization, we do trips to Africa all throughout the year. And I was in South Africa. It was actually my first time there. And I will never forget, I was in my last year of college, my last semester, and we were about to get on this boat. Like you would think we was about to be like living life, like on this boat. And then we hear on the South African radio, it was like a movie, y'all. Literally in the radio, in the car, on the way to this boat, we hear that all of the schools and all of the businesses are shutting down in the U.S. So we're like, to us, that's like dun dun dun. Like everybody's seeing all the messages like, oh, as soon as you get back from spring break, students must evacuate campus, and we're like, the world is ending. Like literally, that's how I felt. I thought my world was gonna crumble. I was like, oh my gosh, so much of my career is wrapped up in college students, but college students are going home, so am I gonna be broke? Like what is going on here? So the pandemic was so scary for a couple days, and then when I got back to America, and they said that we was quarantining, I was like, oh bro, hold on, the world is pausing? I've been praying for this. I've been praying and with that being said, definitely with the pandemic, I had to work on, my imposter syndrome. I had to work on my business confidence. I had to work on all those different things. I was working for a company at that time that didn't value me, and I didn't even know that it was such a chaotic situation at the time because that's all I knew. That was my first, salary job out of college, so I didn't know better. And it's funny because I would always be asking just two of my interns that was into Forex and stuff. I'd always ask them like, oh, how do you get the confidence to just be like doing your own thing on the side like this? Like, how do you have the confidence? And they're like, you're asking me this out of all people, what are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to get out of here. And so either way, it's like, so looking back full circle, starting my company January 2021, right in the thick of the pandemic, it was scary at first, but it's like, what really can you do, especially as a Black woman, when you're scared? It's not gonna change nothing. We still got shit to do. So you can be as scared as you want to, but baby, you gotta stand up, okay? And so definitely when it comes to that, making that decision and being held within the pandemic and understanding, having the time to heal, losing people, having no choice but to heal because we're losing people to the COVID, we're losing people to cancer, we're losing people to all different types of life situations, but yet we're still in this time where we're expected to elevate and grow. So when it comes to the pandemic, I definitely wanted to touch on how, in addition to how much we can elevate in a business-wise, because I'm sure we all saw so much elevation in business, but that takes so much internal transformation that a lot of people don't talk about in the transition, because as you level up, if your confidence isn't building at the same time, it's going to reflect in the way that you conduct your business. It's going to reflect in the way that you walk into a room. If you don't have that confidence, how can you make those connections when you don't even know how you're looking at yourself when you're looking at other people? So definitely with that being said, speaking on mindset, how important has that been for you all, just making sure that you are well internally throughout these last couple years dealing with this worldwide pandemic, so much loss, but then having to show up every day for your business?
Girl, hold on.
That's the question, girl.
Me, I couldn't keep a corporate job for more than 6 months, ever. And making that choice to just say, screw it, takes a lot of endurance and a lot of strength and a lot of confidence. A lot of people, just take this year for example. I moved here in March. Was kind of stressed out with Chicago, the people, crabs in a barrel. Everybody deal with it in their city, and it's like, I don't want to be around y'all no more. Let me go and expand. And I came here thinking, because I'm not the world's richest realtor yet, but I came here, I said, okay, I got $15,000 saved up. I can get a house. I got my car. Like, I can get furniture, live in a nice neighborhood, all these things. And within a couple months, I ended up having to take a 9-to-5 that I only kept for 3 months. But I had to take it because during my birthday trip in Puerto Rico, I had this huge commercial closing that was supposed to happen. And the 4th time around, the buyer walked away on closing day. She called me the day I got to Puerto Rico. I had already spent like 6 racks for the whole birthday. So I turned 30. I was like, I'm spending it. And because I knew I was getting 20 back, right? But that took me down a huge spiral, right? So I had to take this job where I was making, after taxes, $1,000 every 2 weeks, right? And it was 9 to 5 in front of a computer, in front. I couldn't move. It wasn't remote. It was work from home. And me wanting to be this mogul in real estate, wanted to be this huge entrepreneur, wanted to continue this this image. It's the true image of me is what you see socially, but I was starting to decline from that because I was like, oh my God, like I'm making $2,000 a month. How am I can't live off of this. So I was like not eating and going through it, and I ended up like really crashing. I had my my first anxiety attack this year because I took myself away from what was important to me and what meant the most to me. It caused me to lose faith in it because I'm like, I don't know anybody in Atlanta. Nobody's gonna buy a house for me. I'm not one of these super fancy realtors. I don't carry designer bags. You know, like I was going through all these things in my head because all I was seeing was glitz, glam, glitz, Black Hollywood, this, that. And I'm declining because I took a 9-to-5. And I was literally leaving the job, taking my work computer with me to go check on my clients' properties. Because I was like, I can't not be there. So when it got to crunch time, they're like, Serenity, that's not a background. Where you at? You know, and I'm just like, I quit. You know, like I can't sell Medicare and lie to old people, right? I can't do this anymore. So dealing with that, that's just a glimpse of this year because entrepreneurship or anything you do, you don't even have to be an entrepreneur, but growing up is always an up and down situation. Everything is not going to be how we want it. Like even if you look at the richest people and you look at a Donald Trump or whoever, they still have problems that they go with every day that they have to learn how to deal with. And my confidence had to grow from my faith in God because the moment I stopped praying and talking or manifesting and affirming with that affirmation board, right? I lost it in Chicago when I moved. Threw me apart because I wasn't telling myself the importance of believing in you. Because if you do not believe in yourself, how are your pockets going to ever be full? You're going to walk into rooms and people are going to look at you and be like, what's wrong with her? They're not going to stand next to you. They're not going to radiate towards you. And one thing that was told to me recently, which I already knew, and it was an affirmation, I went to Tulsa with Forbes the Culture. Shout out to my fellow Forbes member back there. And we went to Tulsa, and I was told when I walked into the room, they noticed me. I didn't say nothing. I thought I was being normal. It was just a little meet and greet, and they were like, who are you? And I was like, I'm Serenity. Hey, how are you? But because I told myself this is your time to shine, every day gotta be your time to shine. When you go into anybody's job, whether you hate it or not, you let them know that you know you're more valuable than the position they're giving you. And it's going to radiate off into the room. And because of that radiance, even within the past month, the people I've met, the connections I've made, the types of environments I've been into, all came from me just believing in myself a little bit more. And I promised myself I would never tell myself I wanted to not wake up. Because at least 10 times this summer, I said I don't want to wake up. I don't do this. But the God in me was like, get your ass up. You sad, it's okay. Be sad. Do not ever deny your sadness. Do not deny your anger. Do not deny your rage. Do not deny the energy you feel inside. But what you have to do is get your ass up right after you feel that way, because nobody is going to push your train but you. So that's what I can say is the importance of everything I do, even with this type of event. Like, I want to talk to y'all. How y'all feeling? What did y'all go through today? Do you need somebody to just say it's going to be okay and I got your back? You don't have to know me, but just know that I care. It's okay. I got your back. Because if nobody else is going to have you, somebody is going to lift you. If it's yourself, perfect. If it's somebody who's sitting next to you that just smiled at you, perfect. Smile at the people you see outside. Stop walking around with a mug in your face. So that's what all of this did to me. My confidence cannot come from anywhere but myself. And once it comes from you, everybody gonna notice you. Nobody's gonna miss you ever. You become a unicorn in that space.
Well, I'm gonna actually flip it a little bit, because before the pandemic, I was in my young 20s in the mortgage industry. So there weren't any mortgage loan officers that looked like me in the office. There wasn't anybody that I could really identify with. So in most cases, I would reveal how old I was, which was young, and what I look like at the closing table. Because when you're talking to me, I know what I'm talking about. A lot of times people couldn't really tell where I was from based off of, do you have an accent? Where are you from? And that is because my family's from Jamaica, and they used to say, you're not coming in the house talking like that Atlanta accent, right? So I didn't have an issue with who I am because I was hiding myself. I knew what I was talking about. Most of my information, most of my clients were referrals. So by the time they came to me, they wanted to buy a house. They wanted my guidance. They wanted my expertise. So now with the pandemic, I'm putting myself out there. I'm putting my identity out there. So I am experiencing a lot of, okay, I would prefer to get my advice from somebody who is older and white, right? And I'm experiencing that from a lot of my own people. This isn't something that I experienced prior to because it was just all about what I did. But because now we're in the pandemic, I'm rebranding myself, I'm noticing that for my own. So in dealing with that, it's kind of like I'm closing millions of dollars in real estate prior to that, but how do I flip this? When I was in my early 20s and I'm working in the banking industry, mortgage industry, there was a phase where everyone was like, do y'all remember the gray hair phase? Where everybody was doing like the gray braids and the gray this, the gray that. I never was able to do that. So from graduation, I lied on my resume, got a job. That's how we do. And I remember people used to be like, how do you have your own office? Like, you're so young, what did you do to get here? But I'm just like, hey, I have the gift of gab. My first manager told me that I can sell anything from a house to a shoe. And I just ran with it because I was good at sales. I was good at articulating myself and building relationships. So I just built off of that. But it was very corporate, blue, black, navy, that type of environment. So when I started my social media, and I was like, I want to be myself. I branded myself as Chic Mortgage Millennial. I want to show who I am. And even today, I'm a young branch manager compared to my peers. But you always just kind of have to build that confidence and know that as long as you're doing the best that you can for your people and you're educating yourself, you don't want to compromise your values and your ethics in order to get business. So what I do is just continue to maintain my professionalism, but I do notice that sometimes it does hurt, like why I can tell somebody the same thing. I know that in most cases, I know a lot more than people who are in my industry. They'll see me, let's say, closing a lot of deals on a program because I've done the research. I will have them reach out to me and say, Alison, how are you closing so many down payment assistance deals? Can you explain the program? Can you talk to my team? Can you do this? But when you're in it and you're seeing that, hey, I have to fight for every deal. I have to fight to retain every client, every customer, every realtor relationship. It's kind of like you're fighting an uphill battle. But then I will look and I'm still closing deals somehow. So in dealing with that as a mortgage professional, it does take a lot of self-love. It takes a lot of self-awareness and understanding like, hey, I'm doing this for a reason. I love mortgages. It's the most stressful thing in the world because if all else fails, blame the loan officer. So I'll take the blame. I'm used to having those tough conversations, but I would rather have a conversation with a client or a realtor that's tough versus I know that people who are on the other side, they just stop answering the phone. So some of you can attest, like if a loan officer stops answering the phone, most of the time they don't like having those tough conversations. Whenever somebody comes to me and they're like, hey, I went with another lender and they told me I didn't qualify. And I always ask them, did they tell you why? That way we're not starting from square one because if you apply for a mortgage, you should know, okay, were you working on your credit? Were you working on your DCI? So I'm still able to tap into what other professionals can't do. They're not gonna hold your hand through the mortgage process. It's just you qualify or you don't. But it's a daily struggle because you have to wake up every morning like, okay, let's do this again. Let's do this again. I quit every day. I quit every week in my head. But I'm just like, hey, I have a niche. I have something that others don't have. There's a barrier for entry in the mortgage industry because it is so much information. There's so many guidelines that you have to continue to educate yourself on. And no one is there to help you. The underwriter is not going to say, hey, all you have to do is get this document and then we'll clear this condition. You as a mortgage professional, you have to say, hey, buyer, I need you to get this document, we'll be fine. No, you can't do that. No, I need this. You have to be able to have those tough conversations to get those conditions clear. So in some cases, you might feel unappreciated because you're working really hard. You're doing what others won't do. You're going that above and beyond, letting them talk to people like credit repair specialists to say, hey, I need you to specifically get their credit here so that they qualify because we need an approved eligible because they can't have a refer eligible. You know, all of these new languages, but if you have somebody like me who's able to do that extra step, sometimes you kind of do feel unappreciative, especially with you putting out there. People know what you look like. So they might look at me and say, well, she don't look like she's been doing it this long. You know, I'd rather hear it from somebody who, which I know a lot of them, they're all about sales. So I might know when they're lying. I'll be on conversations where they say, you know, well, I'm just gonna tell them that the market changed and I'll let them know what the rate is now. I hear the conversation, they don't care. So it's just kind of like understanding that balance because I don't need to necessarily paint, oh, this is why you should use me because these people don't care about you. It's just kind of fighting a good fight every day and doing what I can as a mortgage professional to help people get to the closing table. So that is some of the struggles that I deal with.
Yeah, can you say, I was so tuned into everybody. Can you just say it one more time?
Yeah, so we're really basically just talking about, you know, what are some of the things that you have to encounter, you know, how do you make sure to keep your internal health as healthy as possible through just making sure that you can be successful every day. So.
Thank you. I spend time alone. No, seriously, you have to spend time with yourself because no matter what industry you're in, no matter what you want to do, if you ain't 100% right here, then nobody's going to be 100% around you. So I had to really get grounded in myself. And on my real estate journey, I learned that because I started off with a team, which was great. You know, I definitely agree. Be with a team, learn what you can learn. But somewhere along that line, I drifted from the team for personal reasons, you know. But when I made that drift and that transition, I ended up alone by myself during the pandemic. I didn't have any friends. All the people who I called friends, we were not cool anymore. Family was there, but you know, some things you just want to keep to yourself, right? So I battled with that alone. I would definitely recommend to talk to someone. I would recommend, you know, if you're ever battling through something or feel like you can't handle it on your own, I think therapy is an amazing thing. Shout out to my man, I'm gonna call him out one more time, Marcus.
Yes.
He just launched an app called LabMe, which is a mental health app, and he now has, 21, 22 therapists on the app, babe? 20, okay, he's not talking, he's giving me hand signs, but he has therapists on the app, but I say that to say mental health is very important, and that's one thing that the pandemic taught me, and I did. I went to therapy, and it helped me out so much during the pandemic, during those depression times, and I felt like it really like redefined who I was, right? Like I was always confident, I always had a personality, I was always a go-getter, but it was just that imposter syndrome that I dealt with, and if you're not familiar with that term, it just means that you don't recognize the person that ideally everyone else sees you to be, right? Like everyone's like, oh, you're this boss, you're this, you're this, that, and I'm like, am I really? Because I don't see that, and I dealt with that, you know? And shout out to my friend Stephanie. We've had many calls during the pandemic where I've even cried to her and, you know, just trying to figure things out. So it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to open up and let people in, even if you're afraid, because I was definitely afraid. But all in all, I feel like it crafted and molded me to become the person that I am sitting here today. Because every trial and tribulation that you go through, trust me, it's not just because it's to mold you, it's to shape you, it's to prepare you for that next chapter of your life that you're getting ready to walk into. So I just want to say, believe in yourself, honey, because if you don't believe in you, who else going to? Okay?
Yeah, so how's everybody feeling right now? Does everybody feel loved? Does everybody feel like we care about your mental space? Right? How many seminars do y'all go to and they actually like, how y'all do? Like, are you okay? Let me tell you, no, I'm not okay. Like, come cry to me. Like, you should be able to feel that way, right? Like, so does everybody feel good and ready to dive into what we have changed our lives with? Is everybody ready to learn about real estate? Y'all ready for some RealTea on the RealTea? You catch that? Yeah, so we're gonna actually start diving into the questions. We have a few that Markeena will ask, but this is a live panel. So we want to make sure y'all questions are getting answered. So, just kind of put your hand up. Markeena will, catch you, so that we can talk to you guys about what's important to you. Because we could tell y'all all day what our main focus points are, right? We know we got scripts. Yeah, go buy my ebook, which y'all should. It's $10. But buy the ebook on the home buying process. Yeah, we have that. But what are the deeper questions that scare you about it? That's actually holding you back from getting pre-approved with my girl Alison here, right? What's holding you back from going to look at some houses with me? What's holding you back from paying to get your credit repaired when we can spend $200 a month on? What do you remember? 'Cause I don't. I easily spend it in a week, and I'm like, damn, girl, you're not there yet, right? So we want to make sure that we are addressing everybody in the room. And shout out, I do want to say real quick before we get into that part, thank you to Brill with Wonderland. That is where the actual podcast that I'm going to be doing weekly will be held, is in his space. And I will be doing monthly mixers there where it's just a vibe. So be on the lookout for things like that. It'll be like so many people and then a wait list so that every month people can come and dive into his art. He's an amazing artist. So I want to thank him for his contributions tonight. He's the reason that y'all getting a little lit. So thank you to that. And thank you to the Be Social space, 1000%, because without Samantha and her space, we wouldn't be here. And it's a co-work space, so if you are a professional, come here for free, work, free Wi-Fi, juice bar next door, bar taco, all of these things are here and available to you. And I just really wanted to say thank you to Brill for sure, because he is a big push for the reason my podcast is coming into fruition a lot quicker than I thought it would. And everybody will receive these in their bags. I'm starting a tea line called RealTea. So everybody gets some hibiscus. It's good for high blood pressure. We all have it, whether you believe it or not, and we can stop it sooner. It's a diuretic, so it's good for weight loss. It's antibacterial, it helps fight funguses, has a lot of benefits for Black and brown people. And I did bless everybody with a 4-ounce pouch in their gift bag. So I just wanted to put that out there. And Reagan is my partner at Palmer House, RealTea. And who else do I have to? I'm saying everything right. Yeah. All right. And shouts out to The Social, which is my overhead. It's a Chicago brand that is now a Chicago and Atlanta brand, where we will have panels, mixers, and speed networking events. So, just be on the lookout for all of that, but that is a big part of why this night is happening. And of course, Nations Lending for supplying the bag to help us get it done. And I was worried.
The money always comes through.
So, Markeena, do you want to ask a question, or do you want to, how do you think we should do it?
I think something that would help everybody, because I know that, I don't know about y'all, but the most that I know about real estate is Sunset Tampa. What's the other one? Sunset Hollywood, something like that. There are some amazing reality TV shows that have just been coming out about real estate, and I will say that I honestly really love what I've been seeing. And so I've been telling my friends recently, like, oh my gosh, I gotta learn about real estate, gotta learn about real estate. I actually have a couple of family members in Florida. They own a brokerage, but I feel like in my life I've always heard a few things about people in real estate. Even my time at HBCU, I only met one person that was there that actually would speak about how she wanted to do real estate in the future. And now that I'm watching these shows and I'm like, oh my gosh, you get this 3% commission off of $1 million house, a $2 million house. And even being an entrepreneur, you know, being an independent contractor, when you are making your own business, you have to be able to get clientele, build relationships with clientele, maintain clientele, you know, do good work with that clientele. And so that is one of the favorite parts I love about being a CEO, about being an independent contractor. So when I was seeing all of these shows coming out about real estate on the Netflix and on the YouTube, I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is like everything. You guys are finding your own clients, you know, finding your own houses to list and all these different things, and it's getting popping. So definitely, I know like you guys, y'all have so many questions too about the real estate industry. So before we get all the way into it, I would love for you to just touch on exactly what is the most important part about what you guys all do and how it all comes together, so that we can open up the questions to the audience so they can ask in the best way, knowing the role that each of you play in the home buying process.
So I would say the most important part is kind of like what every person up here is for, which is why it's such a diverse panel. For one, it's your credit. You can't do anything without credit in America. Cash is king with private investors, but guess what? Interest is also king with them too. So if you want to be silly, go ahead and do all of that cash stuff. If you want to be smart, like she says, you have to use other people's money, but within reason. You know, you always want to make sure that your interest rates make sense. So credit is the most important, and then your pre-approval is the second most important thing, because she's the one who's going to truly tell you what you can and cannot get. And the third most important, of course, is your relationship with your realtor. Because people think you go, like, it's cool to come to me first, but what I'm going to do with you first is make sure that you're pre-qualified with your credit and finances, so that I can either send you to the credit specialist or straight to the pre-approval. So understanding the relationship with your real estate team is important. And also in my ebook, the first thing I say is there's a wealth gap between black and white purchasing, right? It's a huge wealth gap. That's the very first page in my ebook, because you have to understand it's really up to you. Gentrification is not a black or white thing. If you want to see your neighborhood look like these ones that we're in right now, be the gentrifier. You know what I'm saying? And that's a big confusion, is thinking that it's about race. It's just the people with the money. But the people are spending. Let me not say that. People are spending the money on the real estate are the people that are not of our demographic. So those are the most important steps, is just really knowing that you have a realtor who's going to place you. If you go to your realtor first, or your lender first, or your credit person, or whoever first, make sure that their team is so strong that they're not going to lead you astray and tell you can do something that you can't. And then the other most important thing is to not be unrealistic, because just because you want a house, or actually some people don't even want the $1 million houses, but don't look at those $1 million houses and think that that's where it stops for you. Like, damn, I could never afford some shit like that. Like, I hated it. I don't want to buy. I'll rent forever. No, start small. Don't be greedy. If what you get approved for is $150K because you're making $35,000 a year with no debt, because that's pretty much what you would get. You get a condo or something, right? 1 bedroom. It's just you and your dog. Be content with owning something. Build your equity after 5 years. Take the equity, then invest. Start flipping. Start doing whatever. Or save your money and start flipping sooner. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I would say is the most important part, is just understanding the wealth gap first, and then understanding that you need a strong team, you need strong credit, and you have to be able to allocate your dollars. You have to be able to prove your income. You can't go put the $10,000 that your boo just gave you in your account. You can't do that and think, okay, yeah, I got 10K from my pre-approval. No, it has to sit. It has to sit for at least 30 days, right? So just understanding the dynamics of that process and disciplining yourself to say, I want to change my financial situation. I want to own. I will not be greedy. I will take what I can so that I'm a part of assets. You paying 100% interest, just so y'all know. Me too, because I just moved here and I'm paying 100% interest to rent from somebody right now. I'm trying to get down to 7%.
And I just want to add to that, trust the process and meet the deadlines. Last thing you want is for your lender to say, you know, not you specifically, I'm thinking about Linda in the past, girl, to say, I thought you were qualified for conventional, but unfortunately you didn't qualify for conventional, you qualified for this, and we have till this, but by then, the deadline has already passed. So now you just lost your earnest money, you know? So be mindful of deadlines and take that leap. Do not be afraid to purchase. Let me tell you something, this country was built on debt. And it's still in debt. $1 trillion of in debt, you know? So debt is a good thing. Don't fear debt. Debt is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Be in debt. It's okay to be in debt. Leverage the debt. That is the key. Real estate can help you leverage debt. Now, after you hit serenity and got your primary residence, then you need to circle back to me and get your investment property, okay? I would always recommend my buyers buying duplexes. That way you're paying, the 3.5, 4.5% down, but now you have a duplex where you have your primary residence and now you can rent out that the home next door to now create that income to pay off your mortgage, right? Don't you guys want financial freedom? Can I just hear y'all say financial freedom? Financial freedom. Oh, hell no. Y'all better say it like you mean it. Financial freedom. Financial freedom. Seriously, is that not what we work for? Is that not why we have jobs? Is that not why you want this financial freedom? How are you getting it? Why are we not investing in real estate? Let me tell you something. As an agent working with investors, you know what these investors do? They get 4, 5 people who look like them that come together with $7,000, $8,000, $10,000, and now they're flipping it and they're making 100% of their money back. Maybe even 120%, depending on what part of Atlanta they're investing in. I just want to challenge everybody to really think about that. Find like-minded people who you are surrounded with to work together and invest. There you go. You got a lender right here. And I'm sure you work with investment properties. If I'm like, oh, okay, come on now. Got a lender right here that can help you get the funding for the investment properties. It's not hard to get funding. You got somebody to fix your credit right there. Once you get your credit fixed, right here. Boom. Now the next step is finding that investment property. You got Serenity. You got myself, you know, who work with investments and can tell you the numbers and can say, okay, based off this, you put down this is how much you can get back. Take that leap of faith. Can I hear y'all just say, fuck fear? Fuck fear. No, seriously. Fuck fear. Fuck fear. You gotta say that because we live in fear and it's time to say fuck fear. Take that leap of faith on yourself. I'm telling you, these people, other people, other races, they gambling every day and they out there winning. Why can't we gamble and win too?